and welcome to my video, where we're gonna talk about a pretty common problem in the cosplay community and a problem I think many cosplayers run into fairly often, and it's the lack of motivation. I'm gonna talk about some of the things that helps me keep working on a cosplay when I rather want to do other things like watching Netflix or eating snacks and working on world domination and so on. And to avoid that you're gonna lose motivation for watching this video till the end, we better get going. So we all know how it feels like when you start on a new cosplay. You're so excited and you can't wait to wear it on a convention and you start buying fabrics and materials that you need for it. But as things start to go wrong on the cosplay, they're perhaps too long for the next convention, or there's only the difficult parts left on the cosplay, your motivation slowly starts to crash and disappear into thin air. Staying motivated in cosplay can actually be pretty hard, and no wonder, it's pretty hard to stay motivated in lots of things in your life. And this is the point where it's very important that you know how to keep your motivation up. So when this happens, what do you actually do to gather the small pieces of your motivation and keep working on a cosplay? Well, I have some tips and ideas. Some people like to be organized, and it can help them push through the whole process of making a cosplay. It can also be a lot easier if you visually can see all the small pieces and processes that you need to work on doing the cosplay. I personally love Cosplanner, since you can have reference pictures in there, you can have like the major parts of the cosplay, boots, hat, sword, shield, whatever. And then you can also have smaller to-dos or tasks like buying the fabric, cutting out patterns and so on. This way you won't get too overwhelmed when working on a cosplay. You can actually see what you need to do, and then it's also easier to just pick something and say, okay, I can do this today. When I run into a really bad lack of motivation for cosplay, I take a break. Sometimes it's only a few days, but sometimes it's like weeks or even a month. And I actually took half a year off from cosplay at one point, because the motivation was just so long gone that I had to go on a journey and find it again. And that took some time. Just be careful that the break doesn't get into a slippery slope and you never return to the cosplay. Remind yourself that you actually want to work on the cosplay, and cosplay can be fun sometimes. So we all know that it's much easier to stay motivated if other people are involved. So if you have a group of friends who's also cosplaying, it can be a great idea to cosplay from the same series or game. This way you can help each other stay motivated, and it's also a lot of fun to cosplay from the same thing. And if you have cosplay friends, cosplay and crafting days are simply the best. Here you have the best excuse for eating snacks and actually getting cosplay done. This way you can also help each other if you're stuck in certain parts, or share your experience, or just tell each other that it will all be fine and in the end this will be worth it. And if you don't have any cosplay friends, I bet that your country has a Facebook page for the cosplay community. This is a great place to ask if anybody else is going from that series, or if anybody wants to meet up for a photo shoot, or if you need help with your cosplay. I know you might be working on a cosplay to actually go to a convention, but the convention itself is actually where I get the biggest kick of motivation. By seeing other cosplayers in their great costumes and being in the environment, or maybe there's some competitions, really kickstarts my motivation. So after a convention, that's always where I'm gonna be working hard on my cosplays. Sometimes it can be necessary to actually remind yourself why you're working on the cosplay. Perhaps your friends are counting on you because you're gonna cosplay from the same series. Perhaps you're gonna compete in a competition. Maybe you wanted to try a new technique, or perhaps it's just the love for the character or the series itself. Whatever it is, just remind you why you actually started on this cosplay. Which brings me to another motivation factor, that actually choosing a series or a character that is very dear to you. When I started cosplaying, Jinx from League of Legends was my favorite character, and she actually still is today. So many of my cosplays would be of her. Jinx has 3 huge weapons, and they take a lot of time to make each time. And what actually kept me going and push through and make these weapons was purely the love for the character. This is why it can also be motivating to watch the series again or play the video game where your character is from. One thing I like to do if I have a bigger project, like my Slayer Jinx or the Lunar Eclipse Leona I'm working on right now, is to have smaller cosplays to work on as I'm doing the other. When I worked on my Slayer Jinx cosplay, I also made my Ratio cosplay, because the sewing was very easy and the prop was not that big. So it was all things that I knew I could do and not much would go wrong. And that can be quite healthy for the mind to work on cosplays where not much will go wrong. I am teaching cosplay, and one thing I often see with the new beginners is they choose a cosplay that is quite above their level. Although I am all for trying new techniques and pushing yourself to become a better cosplayer, because choosing a too big of a cosplay or maybe trying too many new techniques might, as I like to say to the students, break your neck. Cosplay is all about the balance between pushing yourself but not pushing so far that you fall off the cliff. So now that we are on this topic, trying new techniques can be a motivation in itself. I chose the Lunar Eclipse Leona cosplay because I've never worked with LEDs before or made a full set of armor, even though that has been on my bucket list for cosplays since I started. Right now I'm also trying to convince myself I should not make the Sugar Rush Evelyn cosplay, because my list is way too long already. But look at those strawberries! And the chocolate on top, how am I gonna make that out of resin? Maybe I'll just add it to my list at the bottom, and then when I've done with all of the other costumes, I can see if I still want to make it. And as I said before, the thing with not breaking the neck, try to choose a cosplay that has only one new technique: molding a casting, LED, airbrush, or perhaps a new sewing technique, so again that you won't get overwhelmed. I think today it's so easy to compare yourself to cosplayers who's better. I mean, we have Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and you name it, and not to blame social media, but it is quite easy to get trapped into the "oh, but everybody else is better than me and this is what I can do." Try to remember when you're looking at other cosplayers that you're drawing inspiration from them and not using them to tell yourself that you're not good enough. You can never see when you're looking at other people's cosplay for how many years they have been cosplaying. So if you're not on the same level, comparing yourself might just bring you down. When I start to lack motivation, it's often because something has gone wrong in the cosplay. So I think it is important to understand what it is that demotivates you and how to work around that. Remember that excitement and motivation I talked about in the beginning of the video? Well, you might want to abuse that excitement and tackle some of the most difficult parts of the cosplay in the beginning. With all of the difficult parts out of the way, you won't run into those bumps of how am I gonna attach this? How am I gonna make this? How am I even gonna do this? And that won't stop the great working flow of the cosplay. It can also be a good idea to work from the top to the bottom. So you start perhaps with the boots, the pants, the shirt, the breastplate, sword, and so on. Perhaps make some notes for the different parts of the cosplay. This way you can make a big cross when they're done, or simply take them or throw them out. This way you can see that you're making progress. And even though the cosplay might not be done, the process is still visible. Cosplay is not that different from motivating yourself in other aspects of your life. And there's so many videos on how to motivate yourself on YouTube. So try some of the tricks, like maybe tell yourself that you only need to work for 20 minutes, or perhaps reward yourself that 1 hour of cosplay you get to see a new episode of that series you're watching right now. And of course, I'm giving you all these tips and things, and nobody's perfect. It's not like when I start a cosplay I do all of these things and I stay motivated all the way through. Remember, pick what's working for you and know yourself good enough to where do you need to look after yourself or reward yourself or be a little bit more strict. It's also very important that you can count on yourself. If you made a deadline on Friday, this part needs to be done, you actually need to make it on Friday. Otherwise, all of the deadlines will keep being pushed, and before you know it, it's the day before convention. And then you end up having to rush your cosplay, glue everything together, and everything is a mess and you're very disappointed with the result, or perhaps after the convention you have to fix everything and redo them. And I actually made a video about how that feels like, so if you want to see it, check it out. I really hope this video was helpful to you and you got some tips and tricks on how to stay motivated in cosplay. Remember to be kind to yourself, plan your cosplay, or perhaps have a reward system with snacks, game time, or watching the new series. So that was all for me this week. I really wish you the best of luck with your cosplay and keeping that motivation up. and I really hope to see you in another video.